And what about people like us? All of a sudden, people can fly and lift cars, and we're just supposed to. What? How can we understand them if they stay hidden? If they don't have anything to hide, then maybe they're hiding because they're scared? I mean, can you blame? Today on the Comic Book Report, The Joneses, Volume 1 from AWA Upshot. Stick around and check it out. Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today we are back in the world of AWA's Resistance universe. This has been a really fun playground to be in the last year or so for me on this channel. I know I've reviewed the Resistance along with Moths, and I've just been going through more and more of their catalog. For today I am reviewing, of course, this book here, The Joneses, which is the Resistance universe's answer to something like the Fantastic Four or the Incredibles. I really enjoyed this title overall, and I can't wait to talk about it today. Before we do though, I would just like to shout out the people at AWA for sending over this review copy in exchange for this honest review. Very kind of them and much appreciated. And as always, I'd like to shout out the channel sponsor, Panel Bound Comics. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, I always encourage you to check out their website. You can find a link to them in the video description, and if you see anything there on the site you like, you can actually use my discount code at checkout, The Comic Book Report, to save $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a fantastic way to support this channel. Thank you so much for considering. Now, on with the show. First, some quick facts about today's collection. The issues in this volume were written by Michael Moreci, with art from Alessandro Vitti. The issues in this volume were published by AWA Upshot beginning in 2022. As for the volume itself, it collects The Joneses, issues 1 through 5. And finally, this is a standard size trade paperback edition with glossy print paper stock, a glued binding, and a total of 128 pages. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Alright, here's our first dedicated look at the front cover for today's trade paperback collection. As you can see, we have this lifted from one of the issue titles, and you have our central cast of characters, the Joneses. You also have the Resistance Universe logo up top, along with some reviews or accolades, and all the way at the bottom, we do have AWA Upshot's logo. Really a nice cover, really evocative, interesting. I love that we get the characters spread all along the front. I think it's a great way to showcase the art style and just get to know our primary cast. As far as the spine design goes, we do have this kind of baby blue color and AWA Upshot's logo at the top. We have the title of the work, The Joneses, along with some of the creators listed below that, and all the way at the bottom we have a 1, signifying a volume 1, which makes this reader very hopeful for subsequent volumes down the line. This was certainly a title I greatly enjoyed, and I can't wait to see where we go from here. Across the back cover, we do have a brief description of the book and some additional reviews, pricing information, and things like that. We also have some more incredible artwork, this time showcasing an epic battle sequence. I honestly thought that this was a great choice of design for the back of today's collection. Overall, really fascinating, and between the back and front cover of the trade paperback, you get a good indication of what you can expect inside the collection, which for me is always a huge selling point and gold star for a collection of this kind. And now, as I like to do, for all you prospective collectors out there, here's a quick look at this trade paperback's binding. So as I mentioned at the top, it is a standard glued binding, and in my case, I found it to be a good binding. I overall think that the pages laid down fairly flat, gutter loss was relatively minimal, and overall I'm really happy with it. As always, you can take a look as I flip through the collection and make those determinations for yourself, however. Okay, and now before we dive into the book, I did want to showcase the Joneses next to the Resistance. This is the trade paperback that has the event that kicked off this whole universe. It is a shared universe over here at AWA Upshot, and it's just a really fun superhero-based universe. Like I said, I've been making my way through some of the other titles in this universe so far. I think I've reviewed the Resistance and Moths on the channel previously, and of course this book we're currently doing. I have some more I've completed that I plan to review in the future as well, so if you're interested in more thoughts on the Resistance universe, definitely stay tuned to this channel. Like I said, this has been a really fun playground to play around in, and I've really enjoyed a lot of the narratives coming out of here. Let me know in the comments if you've also been enjoying the Resistance universe over at AWA Upshot. Okay, and with all that taken care of, we can jump into today's collection. As we open our trade paperback, we have some solicits for some other titles from this publisher, along with a title page, publication information page, and then we're really off to the races with issue 1 of The Joneses. Before I go much deeper into my review, though, I do want to set the stage as to what you can expect within this universe, in case you're just looking at this title without having read The Resistance. Now, do I recommend reading that miniseries before tackling any of these, Resistance Universe titles? Yes, absolutely. In many ways, it's akin to me for something like House of X, Powers of 10, before reading any of the Krakoa era. Do you need it? Not necessarily, but it does set up the entire world. Same too here for the Resistance Universe. However, if you are just diving into this collection or one of the other titles within this universe without first reading the Resistance, what do you need to know? Well, I think in the basics, all you really need to know is that there was a global pandemic that ravaged the world. Now, of the survivors, we do have some who were endowed with just superpowers inexplicably. We don't know where the virus or where the disease came from necessarily, though they insinuate perhaps outer space. We don't know why the disease has kind of stopped, and we don't know who was given powers as or why, but now the world is forever changed. Now, within that whole context, we have a lot of these different titles across the entire comic book universe, but one such title here is The Joneses. And this basically takes a look at what if every member of your family developed superpowers. Would you use them to fight and help your community, or would you try to bury them and try to blend in with the world around you? Well, that is what this first trade paperback seeks to kind of answer. We have the family somewhat divided on this issue, and we have some of them sort of incognito trying to fight for right, while the others are just doing their best to try to ignore the powers completely, as there are mounting social tensions and kind of a stigmatizing a lot of these superpowered individuals who seem to be, air quotes, hiding amongst them. In many ways, this is kind of a good analog for something like the X-Men over at Marvel. I do like that there is this whole feeling within the culture of outcasts, or that this group of people are kind of marginalized, or there's a lot of fear involved. I think it's ripe for conflict, and certainly that's where you have these central characters. Now, the Joneses are just kind of a run-of-the-mill suburban family. You know, they have their ups and downs, and they're there together as, again, just a unit. We have a husband, a wife, an elder daughter, and a younger son. The kids are roughly high school age, or junior high in the case of the boy, perhaps. And we just have this dynamic. They're trying to work out their marriage, their parenting, everything in the midst of this global turmoil and this event that has forever changed them. Now, we do have the father exhibiting a kind of rock-like super strength. We have the daughter who has super speed, the mom who has this kind of energy, electrical, dispersing power, and the son whose ability I'm honestly going to leave for you to find out. I think in many ways his is one of the more fascinating. But basically, this family is rocked when their social sphere, their kind of neighborhood watch group, is trying to basically picket or kind of be defensive against these superpowered individuals, and they're kind of in the crossfires. They haven't necessarily outed themselves as being some of the empowered class after the event of the plague, but they're trying to avoid hostilities and sort of dissuade tensions that are mounting, and it's maybe not always successful. We have the family and members getting involved in different criminal activity, or trying to stop it, I should say. We have some bullying being done of the younger sibling, and how the older sibling kind of looks out for her younger brother. And along the way, we find out that there's another group or set of families in this kind of neighborhood watch group that is also super powered, and they're basically trying to sow havoc and just come out on top in many ways. And ultimately, this story resolves with them coming into terms and clashing with them. I really enjoyed the overall setup for this world. I think, again, it has a very Marvel's Mutants kind of feel to it. I also like that this is in its own world or sandbox, though. I love that this publisher is doing its own shared universe like this. In case you're wondering, like I said earlier, this is also kind of an answer to something like the Fantastic Four or The Incredibles, if you enjoyed that film franchise. This is the family superhero team book, but in many ways it's never felt so organic, lived in, true. And in that way, I do think that the Joneses is a bit of a step above in many respects. I think it has such solid footing, and this was a great premiere volume, launching what I hope is a flourishing ongoing series. The characters are memorable, the conflicts are really good and tense, and I think all the resolutions are well deserved. The art throughout by Vitti as well are just beautiful. I think the art in this collection is very consistent, gorgeous. I love how he depicts not only the character models, but a lot of these action sequences. It can be interesting seeing how creators, adapt or portray superpowers, and I think that this was done in a really fun and special way. I felt like the setting or stage dressing of all of the panels looked really lived in and detailed. There was definitely a high level of immersion for me in this work in particular, and that's something I could say about most of this Resistance universe that I've read thus far. A really strong and fun title, and for the first couple of issues, I thought it had a great first arc and foundation for this family. I will say just candidly, this is actually one of my most favorite in the Resistance universe so far that I've had the pleasure of reading. I also know coming out in 2022, this is one of the more recent titles in their catalog, and like I said, I was just really captivated by it. I loved these characters. I'm hoping we see much more from them in the future. I thought that having the main antagonist for the central volume being another family like them that are just trying to use their powers for their own self-interest, greed, and kind of their own sick kicks. I thought that that was a real masterstroke as well. We had the kind of darker mirror storyline, just really great foil characters, and to see the tension mount as they navigated this kind of interesting cat and mouse game throughout the kind of public meetings where both of them hadn't outed themselves, I just thought was really compelling. Ultimately, the side of right seems to have won for now. We have the villainous family exposed, and the Joneses basically agree to kind of step up and do their part. We have an agreement by the end of this volume that I enjoyed. At the back, too, we had a cover art gallery and a bit of an essay from some of the creators explaining and exploring the work. This is something I've seen on some of the other Resistance trade paperbacks, and it was welcome to see here. And that's going to about do us here for the Joneses Volume 1 from AWA Upshot, and now all that's left to do is to give this collection a grade. For a fantastic foundational volume and an already incredible shared comic book universe, the Comic Book Report is happy to give the Joneses Volume 1 a B. This is a really great little hidden gem within the AWA Upshot catalog, and I would consider it a well above average read. This is honestly a title I would recommend to many out there, particularly if you're already a fan of this shared universe. I think also if you're a fan of things, like I said, like Fantastic Four and The Incredibles, this is a no-brainer recommendation. The art throughout, like I said, is beautiful and consistent and deeply immersive, and I thought the writing was equally as strong. Again, a really fun title that I just purely enjoyed. I'd love to hear your thoughts though on the Joneses, the AWA Resistance universe, or comics in general in the comments section. A huge thank you again to those at AWA for sending over this review copy in exchange for this honest review, and for all of you for taking this journey with me. Until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave a like, those comments we talked about, and maybe share this video with a friend. Thanks everyone, bye.